Here we are, right on time, and I cannot believe it. We have another phenomenal guest tonight, Jennifer Ganowsky. And in case we have not met before, you who are here tonight, I'd just like to quickly introduce myself as people are coming in. My name's Noreen Savage, and you might wonder who I am, what I'm doing this for, and I will tell you first who I'm not. I'm not anybody official with Bright Line Eating, but I'm very encouraging of the program. It's done a lot for me already in just a year and a half. Not quite that, but I've had a lot of success, I think, for myself. And I found out about the program from a friend, Lori, who posted on her Facebook page at her 1-year birthday, her BLE birthday, and she simply said that she followed Bright Line Eating, no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, and weighed and measured portions. But if anybody wanted to know how she lost the 57 pounds with it, she just private messaged her, and I quickly went over there as fast as my fingers could carry me. And yeah, by golly, those were the 4 lines. There wasn't any budging from that. And I thought, absolutely no way. There is no way I could do that. Then I met with her over lunch, and I still was not convinced, but within a couple weeks, the pain in my feet and my back and my knee, worrying sometimes that I'd even wake up in the morning, it really got my attention. And I thought, I've tried just about everything else. I'm going to give it a shot. So I practiced for 3 weeks, and then I was all in with the 4 bright lines. And I have not looked back. One of the best things that Lori told me, she suggested that I get involved with We Eat Bright with Lines. And so I followed that Facebook page, and as a result, and that and other pages, I have met so many wonderful people in these 16 months that I've been doing Bright Line Eating. So anyway, I decided when I hit 1 year, I would do what Lori did. I would post on my private Facebook page, and I would help anybody I could. But just before that year was up, God put in my heart, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could offer Zooms. We could get together online. And that's where I am right now. I've been blessed to have, this is our number 21 Zoom.
Wow.
I can't believe it, but just so many great people. Today, I am going to introduce you to somebody who's another rock star. I'm not calling myself a rock star, but of all the ones, we've been meeting week by week. And I'm going to mute everybody except Jennifer and me. And if you want to unmute yourself, Jennifer. And so please help me welcome Jennifer Ganowsky. She's from Utah, where it's nice and cold too. And yeah. Jennifer, I'm so glad that you could be here tonight. Thank you so much. And we talked the other day for a little bit to just get to know each other. And You'll see you saw with some of the pictures that I put up there on the slideshow, and we'll talk about some of those things that we kind of went over, but I'm just so anxious for you to tell your story.
I'm excited too.
If you could just kind of take us back, first of all, what was the total amount that you've lost with bright line eating?
I've lost 120 pounds.
It's just amazing. But so this was not your first try of anything. If you could take us back to where you were before coming in, that would be great.
Probably from about the time I was 14, I thought I was fat. Before that, I didn't think I was fat. I was really super skinny when I was a little kid. But when I hit 14, I got a little tummy, and the boy made fun of my little tummy. And from then on, I thought I was fat. And then in my early 20s, I don't remember how much I weighed, but I was still single, and I was mortified that I was so much overweight, probably 40 pounds or so overweight. And so I joined the diet center. I don't know if anybody else has ever done that. They put you on a 500 calorie a day diet and give you lots of vitamins. And within a couple of weeks, my 500 calories were NMF, and that was about it. And I remember going into the diet center, because you're supposed to go in like at least weekly, maybe almost daily or something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And I was about 24 when I did it. And I'd go in and I'd just be bawling, going, I know this isn't healthy. My whole 500 calories is just junk food, basically, you know? And this little skinny woman there that had never had a weight problem had no way to help me. You know, they didn't know anything. And anyway, so I didn't finish the program. I got down to about what I weigh now. And I was happy with that. And so I went on about my life, and I started dating my husband. I wouldn't say met him, because I knew him for years, but then we started dating. He lived in my hometown, and I was home visiting from college, and we started dating. And so we got married in a year. So I was about this weight when I got married, which is amazing to me that I backed down to that. And then we liked some NMF a lot, and would go to a lot of drive-thrus to get it. And then I got pregnant, so I probably gained a little bit of weight before I got pregnant. And then I got pregnant. That's more reason to eat, so I ate more, and I gained a lot of weight my first pregnancy, and I didn't lose any when I breastfed. That was not true for me, that you lose weight when you breastfeed. Not at all. I was hungry 24/7 when I breastfed. I was eating all the time. And then I had 3 more children. So I've had 4 children, and I just kept gaining weight. I didn't gain a whole lot in the middle years, and I've exercised my whole life. Always have exercised. I mean, maybe spots where I didn't exercise as much, but I would say more often than not, I've exercised my whole life. But after that diet center diet, I could never get myself to stick to a diet again. I just couldn't do it. And
so 500 calories though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have NMF, for someone who's new, that's not my food. That's like hardly anything to eat all day. But then you were supplementing with the vitamins and
and then I was exercising too. Yeah.
You know, and do you think that it just like threw your whole system off? Kind of?
Yeah, probably. And I just couldn't stick to anything again. I tried Weight Watchers. I tried HCG drops. I've tried Herbalife. That was one of the last things I tried. So I haven't tried a whole lot. I did OA for a while. That was the most successful. I got back down to like 180 or something when I was in OA. But then it wasn't successful anymore, because we don't have I live in a small city. We don't have a big program here. And so that wasn't working for me anymore. So it takes me all the way up to 3.5 years ago. I was just in despair. I was like, I would be fine to just like accept that I'm going to be fat, and that's okay. But I was miserable. Like I couldn't fit in chairs, because I carry it mostly in my hips. And I couldn't, I'd go walk into a room and say, which chair doesn't have armrests, you know, so I could find that chair to sit in. There are places that I love to go that I didn't want to go to anymore, because I knew I didn't fit in the seats there. I know
that I can feel that because, at my top weight of 270, I'm down about 65 right now. But even like last summer, I can easily remember in the summertime, just the lawn chairs. Like if I'm at someone's house, yikes, I'm not sure I want to sit there. I mean, forget about it. And
Yeah.
that was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. And then riding on an airplane was pure torture just from San Francisco to Utah. It wasn't even a very long flight. I was miserable the whole time. I thought, I'm never riding an airplane again until I lose this weight. So I kept trying things, mainly that summer before I found BLE. I tried a nutritionist who wouldn't give me a nutrition plan to follow because she could see I was a very huge overeater because I was very honest with what I ate. Like, you're supposed to track your food for 3 days, and I had a lot of food on there and a lot of NMF on there. And she looked at that and said, I don't think I can help you. And I just went home from that in despair. And then I tried a counselor, like a sponsor in OA that was online, somebody who lived in California. And that turned out horribly. I was just in tears all the time. And it was just awful. And I just was so sad. But I kept looking at those OA groups. I had some Overeaters Anonymous groups in Facebook that I would go into and look at every once in a while for inspiration, trying. Meanwhile, that last year before I started losing weight, my husband took off over 80 pounds and did it super quick. He just all of a sudden one day decided, I'm not going to eat junk food anymore. I'm going to track my food in my fitness pal. By the way, I tried that one. I'm just going to ride my bike. I've tried that one. I rode my bike for years. I couldn't ride it very far before I lost the weight, but I still rode it. And, yeah, so he did all this and he's like just dropped 80 pounds in like 6 months. Everybody thought he had cancer. And so I'm going, honey, I've tried all those things you try. Like I tried every day. Like every day I wake up saying I'm going to do that and then I don't. And, but I gave him the susceptibility quiz. For those who might be new, that's a quiz that Susan Pierce Thompson, the creator of the program, came up with. So you could see how much of a food addict you are. And I'm a 10 at least. That's as high as it goes. So who knows how much higher it could be. But my husband was a 1, the lowest it could be. And but I'm just grateful that he wants to eat healthy and be healthy. I mean, that has been a huge motivation for me. Helps me to stay with it too, having a husband that's doing it with me. I'm very lucky that way.
Well, that's really interesting that you bring up about the susceptibility quiz, which I think everybody should take. You can take it at foodfreedomquiz.com. And as Jennifer said, that you will find out your score 1 to 10. We're in the same boat. My husband scored a 1 on my 1-year anniversary. He took the quiz and he scored a 1 and I'm a 10. And I score my 10. I really thought it was wrong. And I took it again and it was a 10 plus. And I'm like, what in the world? But it goes back to your worst time. There's a question in there that says, what was your worst time? And you should be scoring from that time. And when I go back to that time, everything is a 10. But the thing is with these neurotransmitters and everything, it's kind of like, the house on the corner where the bike kind of hits the corner, but not quite around on the sidewalk. It's like this neural pathway is taking the easy way out or easy way in your brain. And you can try to fix yourself, but given the stress again, it's going to take that easy route once you make that pathway again. And I think that's the idea, right? Is that what you got out of it?
Yeah, in fact, that's when I found the book. So I was looking online at this OA website or Facebook group, and somebody had said, what food plan should I follow? And somebody else had posted, get the book Bright Line Eating, which is against the guidelines for OA because you're not supposed to advertise other things. It's not like it's a money thing. It's but people don't want to be bombarded with advertisement. But I'm so grateful that person did it. In fact, I went back and found her a year later and told her how grateful I was and that I owed her so much. But I went on to Amazon and ordered the book and I read it and it all made sense to me. Like I'd already decided that I couldn't exercise and change my eating at the same time, that it was just too much in my life. And then I had decided, and then I had tried no sugar, but I'd always had sweeteners. I'd tried no white flour, but I'd have like almond flour. I had tried 3 meals a day with nothing in between, but I let myself eat whatever I wanted in those meals. So I had tried lots of different components of right line eating, but I never tried it all together, all 4 lines at the same time, or being so like strict, no flours at all. I had no clue that would make a difference. I thought I could eat whole wheat flour and almond flour and things like that. And then it said no smoothies. I thought smoothies were health food, you know?
Right.
And so I ate smoothies quite a bit. And yeah, so there were things like that that were kind of opening. But I think the biggest message for me is before Bright Line Eating, I just didn't think very highly of myself. I was so down on myself because I couldn't stay on anything. I'm going to cry. But I couldn't stay on anything. And that's so, it just makes you feel bad about yourself. And I think when I read the book, and that's what I would highly recommend if anybody hasn't read the book, is reading the book. Because when I read the book, I realized that it wasn't all my fault. Like there's some other stuff going on there, you know, that to do with our brains and to do with the chemicals. And I can't ever explain it, even though I've read about it a billion times and listened to the Food Freedom. I always just tell people it has to do with dopamine and your brain and they're addicted, so don't eat them.
Well, the other thing too that I would say to that is that, and you kind of alluded to the fact that you had exercised before, but here you were bringing yourself to Bright Line Eating. You kind of like opened up that, no, I can't be doing both at the same time. And don't you think that talks to the piece about willpower?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was a big one for me too. I totally agreed with that because I told my husband once, I said, you don't understand. For me to do what you're doing, I have to tell myself no about 1,000 times a day. Right. It felt like 1,000 times, maybe not that many. But that's how I felt like constantly the food messages were bombarding my brain all the time. I always wanted to eat day and night, 24/7. And you know, so to try to willpower through it was impossible.
Right. So for someone who is starting out, I guess the rule of thumb is if you're exercising just so naturally that it doesn't even take the least bit of willpower for you, then that's, I guess, okay. But she strongly recommends that you don't until you've really got the 4 lines in check and that you're really strong with the program. But I got to tell you something, Jennifer. One nice thing, like I have the advantage of looking on Facebook, and you said something just a second ago, and it really like got to me when you said about you were down on yourself. I totally identify with that. But I was looking on the Facebook group, and I came across where someone was saying that they were beginning the program and they were beating themselves up, that kind of thing. And your response was so sweet and so on point. You said, I wrote it down, you will never be successful at losing weight if you come from a place of self-hate instead of self-love. You can't do this for other people until you love yourself enough to do it for yourself, don't you think? Like, you know, I think over the years, I tried and tried and tried. For 25 years, I tried. That's one thing I would at least say to myself, at least I'm not giving up. I'm trying again. But every time that you fail, you just like, And so it was so perfect when my friend Lori got me interested. You know, well, I went to her. She didn't come to me. She posted, and then it was up to me to go to her. Yeah. She said, if you do choose to do this, Noreen, there's 2 things. If you should slip, 1, don't beat yourself up. And 2, don't look back. You're not going that way.
I like that. Yeah, those are both good thoughts.
And it really has spoken to me because even I'll be very honest, yesterday was my husband's birthday. And I went back and forth, will I or will I not? And he made this wonderful, it was a light NMF, and I had a piece, and it is the first time I have in so long.
Mhm.
And I was about ready to beat myself up. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not the way it works anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I just do the next right thing.
I heard something once that said you can't hate yourself into making changes. It doesn't work.
That's right.
And I don't know when I realized that, by the way. Like, I don't think I ever had this thought process like, oh, it's not my fault, so now I can do it, and da-da-da-da-da. I don't know what. I don't know how I did it. I just committed. It took me about a month. I committed. In fact, I remember my daughter's on this. She's watching this right now. And she came to my office at SUU, and I handed her all my gum and mints. I said, here, take this. I've started this, program. I'm not going to eat it anymore. And except I still do chew gum once in a while. Anyway, I just knew I needed to do it because I was so desperate, and I did not want to be 263 pounds anymore, And I was hoping to get to 180, but when I read that book, I was like, maybe I can get even lower. Man, she really makes you think you can if you read the book.
Well, yeah. I actually, after I read just the science part of the first 5 chapters, I shut the book and I said to myself out loud, I'm going to get thin. But here's the thing that I've been dealing with, and maybe you can address this, because you were starting from like what, 260 or something like that?
263.
Okay, 263. And at what point did you have to challenge yourself, or didn't you? I mean, what I'm saying is, like, I'm almost like I'm trying to push through the number 200. I'm like just on the other side of it. And after all these 25 years that I have attempted to lose weight, I would get very close to 200. I would gain it all back. And that's where I am right now. I almost have to be in a happy discontentment or something like that. Because I feel like, oh gosh, if I've lost 65 pounds, if I never lost another pound, I'm just like slick,
You're a lot better than you were, right?
Well, I am, but I feel like I could get stuck in that piece. So that's what I'm wondering for you. Like, what did you have to talk yourself into that?
What worked for me is I jumped all in. Like, I was completely all in to Bright Line Eating. I decided to take on the identity completely. I was a person that did not eat flour and sugar. Now, I have had flour and sugar here and there, but I don't want to. So I'm still saying I'm a person who does not eat flour and sugar. And I wanted it to be my identity. I wanted to be all in. I don't bake anything that has flour and sugar in it. I don't make sweets for anybody. I am not the grandma that's going to bake cookies. By the way, I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. And I am not the grandma that's going to bake them cookies. But you know what I can do now? I can get down on the floor and play with my grandson. And I can hop up and run across the room with him. I couldn't do that before.
And at some point you'll be bike riding with them.
I can go bike riding with my grandson. I have the energy to take care of them. I can go up to my daughter's house and take care of the kids and help out. I have that energy now where I didn't before. I mean, so I won't be the grandma baking cookies, but I'm hoping to be that grandma that plays with them and connect with them that way. So
that's really beautiful. And that's, you know what? You can't be both sides of it.
Yeah. And I almost never give gifts of NMF either, because I feel like, what if they just decided to not eat sugar, then I come bring them a plate of sugar. And everybody around me knows what I do, so we don't get gifts of NMF anymore either. So,
what's funny? Well, funny, not funny. I know we have this in common. I work at a university too, and I'm as like a secretary, basically. I'm an administrative assistant, and one of my student workers, that we have one every day, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to get him something for the holidays. It's almost the break. So what do? I went to the store on my lunch hour and I got some NMF.
Right. Yeah, that's
And
what I
so
don't do.
here it is sitting on my
It's the
desk
easiest thing
all
to give.
week.
You really have to think hard to
Oh,
to come up with something else. Like for Halloween, for
yeah,
the last 3 years, we've given out glow sticks. So,
yeah.
and I started bright line eating right before Halloween. I was like the beginning of October, end of September. So I went through Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I never broke a line. I didn't break any lines very much. I mean, like sometimes quantity is hard and I'd break that if I didn't have my scale. But mainly I did not break any lines for over a year. And then I was on a trip and it was super hard. I ended up like getting depleted and eating some NMF. And that's when I realized like I can't put it down once I eat it again.
Right.
So I've just found sometimes I go off, this year's been like 2 weeks off, on a day or two off, 2 weeks on, a day or two off. And I don't like it. I don't like that I don't have peace around food. I don't like thinking about like how you were thinking about it yesterday. Should I have some? Should I not? It's just easy to be 100% all in. One of the mantras I like is that I want to be a bright line eater, not a bright line breaker. So that's what my goal is to not break my lines.
And I know you were saying when we talked the other day that this piece, I mean, it brings you integrity of
like, it's hard for me to tell people I don't eat sugar and flour if I just ate it yesterday.
Right.
So I try not to eat it, for the most part. But I get weak sometimes too.
So let's talk about the mechanics a little bit, because I believe that you got into the boot camp right off the bat.
I did. I didn't know about anything else besides the book and the boot camp. And so I jumped in. My daughter did it with me, which was awesome. And my husband was already eating healthy, so he was totally supportive. And we just started cutting up vegetables. I do have a funny story. The very first night we ate, in the book, in the plan, Susan Pierce Thompson has us eat 8 ounces of salad and 6 ounces of vegetables, and then your protein and that's it, and a fat for dinner. And so we made this 8-ounce salad, but we did mostly lettuce. And so if you've done this, it was huge. And we're like trying to eat it, like, I don't think we can eat another bite.
I made that.
After that, I don't know when I heard about it, but I heard of doing the 10 ounces at lunch and 10 ounces at dinner. It's kind of separating it. And that's what I've done ever since that first week or so. So I love that.
That's important to note, that produce is produce. And so I had kind of a similar thing in that when I found out you can have any kind of vegetables, whatever, one day I decided to have 14 ounces of cauliflower rice.
Oh,
it was too much.
It
was way too much. But I was doing 10 ounces for lunch and 10 ounces for dinner for quite a long time, for probably a year. And then I've just recently, in the past maybe 3 months, switched over to 8 ounces for lunch and 12 ounces for dinner. And for that is a happy balance for me. Good. But I will say that even changing 2 ounces, my brain was not happy about it for a couple of weeks. And I have to keep saying, no, it's 20 ounces total. It's fine. I'm not starving to death. So
for my brain, I like having it the same because it just makes it easy. Otherwise, I end up weighing wrong because I forget whether I'm doing lunch or dinner. I know that's silly, but at my age.
Well, we're in the same boat.
I have to keep it simple.
So anyway, I think that you also were talking about when you got into boot camp. Is that when you got into a mastermind group?
About towards the end of boot camp, we started our mastermind group. It's been 3 years that we've been going on since about 2 weeks ago. And so that's been great. It's just great to have people that you talk to every week about it. It just keeps you on point, whether you're struggling or not. It's just really nice.
So did you just, basically advertise in a group that, hey, I'm looking for mastermind buddies, or?
Yeah, basically.
And then how does that work? Because I've never been in a group. Does somebody take the lead each week?
You take turns. You take turns
Okay.
taking the lead, and you all check in, and then you all just talk about what you want to talk about, and then everybody gives you feedback. And it takes about an hour for our group. I've heard of some groups that take an hour and a half. Sometimes people do different things, you know, to make it their own. So
So
yeah.
you kind of have set questions that you can pretty much plan on every week or just,
Yeah, well, we usually just
well,
ask what's our win for the week, and then we talk about what maybe we think we're going to be struggling with. We try to talk about the solutions, you know, and we just try to cheer each other on and help each other. And then for sometimes during the week, we'll check in with each other, we'll text each other, we'll buddy up, you know, to give extra support when we need to, things like that.
so how long did it actually take you to lose the 120 pounds?
I think it took me about, I want to say 16 to 18 months, something like that. I don't know the exact time. I'll have to go back and look at my 5-year journal and see, but I don't remember exactly. It wasn't like I just like, oh, I've arrived. I don't know. I probably did. I'm sure I probably wrote it down. I just don't remember when it was.
So you use a 5-year journal
Mm-hmm.
and you've been doing that from day one or?
Yeah, even before I started Bright Line Eating, I got my 5-year journal, and it was just a few days before because I planned a date. I'm gonna start on Sunday, and so it was about 4 days before that, and I wrote in it my very first day. I said I'm going to be starting Bright Line Eating on Sunday, and so
I really wish I had gotten it then, but I just got one not too long ago, and I
good.
really love it. And
Yeah, it's fun. It's really
it's
fun now to go back and read 3 years worth of entries.
wow,
Yeah,
that will be fun
interesting.
indeed. Especially, I think, if you even have some of the struggles in there, if you can just say,
Oh
"Hey, I
yeah,
overcame that." So
yeah.
what has of the 4 lines, what has been the most difficult then,
Hmm.
or if any?
Mm, probably the quantities. Yeah, like I tend to do bite licks and tastes and think that they don't matter. Just a few. Like I
Mm,
really don't do very many. But what will happen is the couple I do might not matter, but after day after day after day, then they start to become more and more. And then I notice like on Thanksgiving was the last time I broke my lines, and I was cooking all morning, and so I had a little bit of this, a little bit of that, then it was a little bit more,
mm,
a little bit more. And at first, I'm like, "Oh, this is okay because I'm on maintenance. It's okay." And I do all this little. That's how you know you're going off is when you start. What's the word? Rationalizing it to
oh
yourself.
yeah,
Oh yeah, this is
right.
okay. I'm on maintenance. A couple extra bites doesn't hurt. Maybe I didn't have enough protein with my breakfast for some reason. I don't know. Maybe the scale weighed it wrong. You know, you start all this rationalizing. And then I by lunch or by our Thanksgiving dinner, which was at lunch, I'd realized I'd broke my line. Yeah, like I knew I had.
Yeah.
But it started with bites, licks, and tastes that I didn't think mattered. So right now I have a sponsor, and she's great, and she challenged me to not do any bite, licks, or tastes for probably forever. But anyway, for right now. So I've been like
That's
doing
good.
that for about a week and a half, really, really good. And it feels good. It's very freeing, very much so.
So you said you got a sponsor. Now, was that through Bright Lifers? For someone who's new, if you go through the boot camp, you can then join the Bright Lifers. And I know these are paid programs,
They are.
but Bright
Yeah, they're
Lifers,
great.
the
They're worth
cost
it.
goes down. I have yet to meet anybody who has not said it was worth every penny.
Mhm.
I have not done it yet,
Because
but
you're worth it, right? So I mean, at the point when I joined it, I told my husband, and we're like really, we don't spend a lot of money on things. So
mhm,
spending the amount of money it was to do it,
mhm.
I just said, honey, I've struggled with this my whole life. And I had done it for with just the book for about a week, but I was like, I just want to make sure this sticks. You know, I don't
Yeah.
want to I don't want to play with it. So so I did, and I'm grateful. Yeah.
So, not to put your daughter on the spot, like, I mean, but
Oh, she's gonna
have
be
you
mad I
found
said
what?
anything.
Because I think you said at some point that you joined together.
Oh, not
Do
this daughter, not the daughter that's
oh,
watching.
okay,
Although she did
okay.
do the 14-day
Well,
challenge and did it for a time, but she doesn't do it right
well,
now.
in general, have you had what I'm getting at is many times what I have found is people say, oh, so-and-so should do it or whatever. What is your answer to them? If you're the one doing bright line eating, isn't it, I mean, I would think that when you've lost all the weight, you want to proclaim it to the world, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you
Yeah, I
just
love
hold
sharing
your,
my story. I even had a group going here in Cedar City for a while, and I in Cedar City, Utah, and I posted on Facebook in the Cedar City like page or group or whatever, and said, you know, I've lost 120 pounds. We want to know how. Come to this group, and I'll help you. And so I helped a few people that way. That was really fun. And so, yeah, I love to share it with anybody because I know how miserable I was, and I'm just assuming others are too when they're that overweight.
yeah, I would think so too. But you know, the beauty part about when you have gone through the process, I think you can also have the empathy that it's just not a walk in the park, that you know that you have to put effort in it. Even like what you're saying a minute ago of the bite, licks, and taste.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I gotta do something about that, you know, or getting a sponsor again. You know, it's just, you know, that takes effort. And you think, oh, 3 years, I'm done. You know, I'm done with that. That's an old mentality. You're not done. You've taken on that identity, and that's how you are. And that was actually another thing I was creeping on you about when I was on the Facebook page, because someone was saying that they had, you know, they wanted to get their not my food somewhere. They went across town to get it or whatever. But they were changed their mind at the last minute and said, hey, I'm so proud of myself. I didn't do it. And you said something about, I just tell myself I don't eat like that anymore. That's not the person I am. You know, that again is an identity thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's even like last night. I was choosing to go off and I rationalized, oh, it's my husband's birthday, even though other birthdays I haven't gone off, even my own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but for some reason I rationalized, oh, it's a light, there's fruit involved, whatever. Well, it was dinner and I hadn't planned on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, it's really a mindset, I think. And most people, I think it's really hard. And that's what I was going to say too, is not picking on your daughter, not picking on anybody. It's like those who want it and they choose to do it, you know, if they should stop, that's fine too.
Yeah, everybody has to find their own path, and this isn't for everybody. And so I have all my daughters have tried it except for one. Yeah, 3 of the 4 have tried it, and one still does it on and off. You know, struggles a little bit, but tries. And that's the one who started with me originally. The one who did the 14-day challenge, she liked it, but it didn't work well for her and her husband. And she does other things to keep, you know, to lose weight and keep herself fit and happy. And they work for her. And that's just great. There's
exactly. And that's again, just putting that out there, that what I hear sometimes is, I don't want to do this alone in a household, but sometimes you have to choose that if you want to. Because I'm doing it alone, and I mean, I don't put myself up anywhere. It's just I'm trying to choose that as my identity too,
right,
to make it easier on myself. And so,
And I think everybody will have challenges with bright line eating. So I was lucky and don't have the challenge of having it in my home because my husband's, you know, doesn't. I mean, he has like granola bars he eats and stuff, but they don't tempt me really. And you know, and so he doesn't follow bright line eating, but he eats really healthy and he loves the way we eat. We both do. We love vegetables and protein and fruit and everything that we eat. And and he does our grocery shopping. I'm really lucky. And he loves filling up the cart with vegetables and bringing them home. And it's just great. So we do it together and it's awesome. So I was really blessed that way. But I had other challenges. I finished a master's in mathematics while doing bright line eating, which was super hard. I mean, a week into it, I was like, I don't know if I can do this and do my master's too, because it took so much time, you know, to change how I eat and to cut up the vegetables and things like that. But thankfully for my supportive family, it really helped. And I kept thinking, if I wasn't doing it, I would be putting on so much weight doing this master's, because I would be eating the whole time I was studying, you know, that would
Most
be my
likely.
old self. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then also during that time, that first year I was in Bright Line Eating, my dad got super sick, and I ended up being one of his caretakers, driving over to his house every day to change him and take care of him, because my mom couldn't. And that was super stressful too, and very hard. But you know what?
Well, what did you do to make what made it easier? I mean, you're talking about cutting up the vegetables. Do you do prep work or anything?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't do like specific, like, oh, I'm going to prepare for the whole week right now. But every time I do cook, me and my husband, every time we cook a lot. Like we still cook like we have a family of 6 here at home, you know, or more.
Okay.
And we don't mind leftovers. We love them. So we just cook a lot whenever we cook, and then we eat on it for the next couple days. And then we cook a bunch more. Usually we cook a lot on the weekends because we're both busy and working during the week. And so we'll cook more on the weekends, but sometimes I cook during the week, like I cook tonight. But when I do cook, I just always cook extra. I don't just cook enough for that meal.
And then do you do a layout, you know, your week as far as pre-packing?
I don't lay out my week. We just know what we buy. We buy the same thing every week, you know, like a lot of vegetables. Every once in a while we'll buy something different, but we buy a lot of vegetables, some potatoes, some sweet potatoes, some fruit, you know, a bunch of fruit, bananas, and apples and oranges. When I had my 2 daughters here doing it, we went through like 28 bananas in a week or something like that.
Well,
we would buy so many bananas. It's crazy.
And what's funny is I do some breakfast muffins, so I'm literally shopping for older bananas if I can get them.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper, so it works out. It's like win, win, win. You know, I'm getting bunches of old bananas, just enough to bake with them. Yeah. So it works out pretty well. So what changes have you seen since you've lost all this weight? I mean, you know, you talked about having Pardon?
Are you talking about non-scale victories?
Yes, non-scale victories.
A lot of them. Well, for one, I can sit in any chair I want to now. And wearing size 6 was amazing. And at first, I just bought everything that fit me, just even if I didn't like it that much, because I loved it because it fit me. And it was size 6. But now I'm a little more picky. Riding an airplane, I've been on an airplane now several times. Oh my goodness, roomy, so much room now. I can't believe it. And going to amusement parks is a blast and a half, because your legs don't get as tired and hurt and everything. It was amazing. I've been to a couple amusement parks. I even had to move once. They asked me and my friend to move to a different seat because the seat we were in could be made for a larger person, and there was somebody else larger that needed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's me. Or like the first time I asked somebody to zip up my dress. I was somewhere else, not at home. And she said, oh, you're just so petite. And I was like, what?
Who is she talking to?
Who are you talking to? That's not me.
That's amazing.
Like that. What was the one I told you earlier? I said, don't let me forget.
Oh, about recording.
Oh, yeah. So at SUU, at my university I teach at, they installed cameras into all the classrooms, and everybody has to be recorded every day, every classroom you teach, so that if a student's sick and can't make it at that time, they can watch it later. And so I always go back and look at them just a little bit to trim up the beginning and the end if there's extra stuff that the other kids don't need to see. But I look at myself and I'm like, I'm so glad I look how I look now. I would hate this if I was still 263 pounds.
Yeah.
So
it's really quite, I mean, I'm only about not even halfway to goal. And a couple of weeks ago, I took a picture, an after picture, because I happened to be wearing the same outfit that I was wearing just before I started Bright Line Eating. And even my jaw dropped. I'm like, wow. And I'm like 65 pounds. Well, if I lose
a
the whole
lot.
135 pounds, that's going to be crazy.
It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
Another victory is, like I said, I've rode my bike for years, and I used to ride. I think it was about a 15-mile round trip when I was in my early 200s, and it would wear me out for the rest of the day. I couldn't do anything else after doing that. But I was so proud of myself that I could do that. I was to the next town. I thought that was amazing, to ride my bike that far. And now if I ride 15 miles, that's just a little jaunt, and a big ride is like 50 or more. Yeah.
Your world just opened right back up.
Yeah, you can do so much more when you're in the right size body, for sure.
I'm looking, and I can't believe it. The time is here, 9:15. So we only have 15 minutes. Okay, I have one comment. And if anybody has a question for Jennifer, please put them in the chat or for me. Says Noreen, I use this mantra. I haven't come this far just to come this far. That's true,
Right.
for sure.
That's a good
I
one.
haven't come this far to come this far. That's really true. In fact, even last night after having that, NMF, I for a split second was down on myself. And I've said many times, do the next right thing, do the next right thing. Mm-hmm. And one thing I did say too is when I got started with this, I told my husband, if I have an NMF, I'm going to tell you. And he's like, what? Like, you have to understand, when he took the susceptibility quiz, there's something on there like hiding food or whatever. He's like, hiding food? Why would you do that? I'm like, what? Who are you, really? No, some people in a distant and far land might hide food. But yeah, so I told him I'm going to tell you, and I haven't had to very often, and part of it is what Treva's saying. I haven't come this far just to come this far, truly. It's okay. Here's another question or statement from Heidi. Jennifer, boot camp buddy. I'm wondering did you used to be a big stress eater? And if so, what do you do to manage your stress now and keep from emotional eating? That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I was a stress eater because I was an everything eater. I was a celebrate eater. I was a sad eater. I was a frustrated eater. Everything but for being hungry. I don't know if I ate for hungry because I was hardly ever hungry. So
I literally would say that to my husband. I'd say, I don't get hungry. Do you get hungry?
No, not when you're eating all the time.
No.
So for stress now, I think just trying to find other ways that you can comfort yourself. Like we talk about comfort food, and we talk about like, oh, we're just so stressed, so we're going to eat. Mm-hmm. And I think there's other things we can do that we can enjoy and do. And so I try to do like mantras. I try to think of like just taking some deep breaths, drinking water. I also try to work on that emotional side of me, and try to deal with that stress instead of eating over it. Like just sitting with the discomfort of it. Like sometimes we just want to run away from discomfort, right? We don't want to feel our feelings. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. We don't want to feel the stress. So eating is a way to numb it a little bit. And so I think it's being aware that that's what we're doing. Like, really, is this going to help anything? No. Is it really what I want to do? No. And then thinking of some things that really would help, like for me, taking the 5 deep breaths helps me a lot if I'm feeling stressed, or maybe just going for a walk or a ride on my bike, or sitting and reading a book, or sometimes I'll get out my cross stitch, and just watch a movie and cross stitch for a minute, just to kind of do something for myself. A lot of times I hear people say when they that are bright line eaters, but that have a little blip off, and they're just like, I just needed to do something. Like I just wanted to do something for me, and it's like, well, find other things to do for you that that you really want to do, more than you want.
Yeah, I would say too. I really like how you said feel your feelings. Sometimes I've just had a good cry. Mm-hmm. Like the food has pacified at times, mm-hmm. but maybe those feelings need to come up and out.
Yeah, you need to deal with
Like
them.
it's okay,
Yeah.
to have a good cry once in a while or go to bed. that's,
Yeah.
that's if it's possible, and sometimes it's not.
Take care of yourself. I love the bunny slipper, that Susan Pierce Thompson says. Put on your bunny slippers.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. Just love yourself. I don't know. I think I was going to say this earlier. I don't know at what point I realized that I was loving myself more than I used to. But it dawned on me about a year into Bright Line Eating that had all changed, and I owe it to Bright Line Eating. I mean, I don't think you can lose weight to love yourself. I don't know what happened, but I don't think it's because of the losing weight. Maybe it is. I don't know. But somehow I went from somebody who did not love herself to somebody who did. I went from somebody who I knew I should love myself because I was a good person, but I just didn't. To somebody.
I wonder, I just put this up for your question in your own mind with you bringing that up, because I can identify with that. I wonder if it has to do with promises kept. How many times I would go to bed and I would say, tomorrow, that's the day, tomorrow. And then, I broke that promise, maybe by noon, and then I'd go to bed, tomorrow's the day. And again, something would happen, or maybe I'd last a couple days. And sometimes I lasted many days, a nice stretch, 50 pounds. I literally lost hundreds of pounds. I just kept going back and forth, losing the same ones. But I think that there's a piece when you finally say, wow, I kept my promise today. I put out that this is what I'm going to do, and I did it. No different than if you tell, your grandson, grandma's going to come and, play with you. And if you don't, he's sad, but you're sad. You feel bad and you're kind of mad at yourself. Like, why didn't I do that? I said I was going to do it. Why didn't I do it? I had every good intention. But after you keep more and more promises, I think maybe the love comes back for yourself.
That's it.
I don't know.
I really don't know what happened, but it happened and it feels good. So
I really can't believe this time is ticking away like this. I wonder, someone here is tonight, I don't know who tonight is here, who might be considering Bright Line Eating, or maybe they have fallen off a few days or weeks or whatever. They want to resume and they're just trying to claw their way back. What would you say to them with your journey, the way that it's been? What would you say to them tonight?
I don't know. That's hard because it's hard to know what to say when somebody's struggling, like you want to have the magic bullet to help them, but sometimes you just don't have it, So I would just say you just keep trying and keep learning from what you're doing. And then I would just realize that you can do it. Like you can make the choice. Sometimes it feels like we can't. I know food addiction can seem overpowering at times. And like we don't have a choice, but we really do always have a choice. We really do. And at that moment when you're going, should I or shouldn't I, you have a choice. You have a choice. So you just have to decide beforehand whether you're going to or not. And then I know in the book she talks about an emergency action plan, and I have one. I actually have it written right here.
Oh, wow.
I look at it and I never use it, I'll be honest. I find it's easier for me to have like one thing that I will do, like either text somebody that I want to call or text, or take the 5 deep breaths, or go get a drink of water. But I kind of try to focus on one thing that day that I'm going to do if I am getting really tempted to eat.
That's really great. I see Lori is saying, Jennifer is an inspiration to the sisterhood of the shrinking pants.
Yay! Yeah, that's our Gideon Game team. Lori's awesome.
Oh. Have you been doing Gideon Games quite a bit? Or
no, I've done it, I think, like 4 times now, something like that.
Wow.
I think I'm on this one.
I've done it once, and that butted up right to COVID, and so I didn't go on again. But and
It's
Beth
a
was
big
here.
commitment because you're committing to keeping your lines every day. Because every day you report whether you kept all your lines or not. And you can't do it just part way.
Oh, I know.
No, you
I
have to
know.
see it all the way. And so it's good. It's a good motivator for me. But more than that, we get on the groups I've been on lately. We get on Marco Polo a lot and get kind of deep sometimes, some deep discussions and stuff going back and forth on Marco Polo. Super supportive. That's the main reason I like to do it. It's been great to get to know Lori, and I see Janille's here, and
Okay.
Wendy's here, and Luann. I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but yeah, they're all on my Gideon Games teams.
Well, Wendy's saying, Jennifer, you rock. Thanks for sharing your story. I agree. And, it's so inspirational to hear a successful story, and you're not like pretending like it's a flawless discovery into, now I got it all perfect.
No.
You know what? I think that that's actually makes it more livable to even think that I'm getting the impression this is your identity and this is sustainable for you.
Yeah, totally. It's what I enjoy. Like when I do go off and I'm kind of doing a little binge or something, I'm like, I don't even like doing this. I don't even really like this food. Give me some vegetables. Give me some fruit. Give me some good protein. Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, the other food doesn't taste any better. Like it just doesn't. And if you think about it, you can remember how it tasted. You've been there, done that. And that can be closed like in your past. You don't have to keep going back there to see how it tastes, because it tastes.
And I would definitely say, don't do as I did, like getting my student workers all this NMF to hand out. Like I should have gotten them hand cream or something.
Yeah.
Because here it's sitting on my desk, and what I ended up doing today, which I haven't done this in like 6 months or something, I got a pack of gum and chewed the whole pack of gum.
Oh no!
Because I'm like, I am going. It's sugar free, but it was like young. I was just like, my mind like wanted the other stuff, and it's like, why am I tempting myself like this?
I just think of the saying that my sponsor told me. It was like, oh, I wrote it down, but it's not in here. Keep your lines almost bright and you'll almost have peace.
Ooh, that gets you. Keep your lines almost bright and you'll almost have peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think it really works that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, huh?
Well, we are closing up. I hear your bell. You probably have.
Oh, that's just somebody texting me.
Papers to grade and all that stuff. I know you're a teacher.
Thanks for
and I
reminding
really
me.
appreciate you taking the time to inspire all of us tonight. And so I am going to just echo what others are saying. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thanks.
I know that as we get to through the holidays, and just the end of the year kind of stuff, we're going to have temptations. You've made some great suggestions of, different things to keep yourself busy. And I would also even add, like, one thing that I try to do is bring myself back to the science part a little bit, and almost like look at myself from above and saying, you're just kind of trying to get a dopamine rush here.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like you said, you remember what that tasted like.
Yeah.
And, it's what really tastes good is integrity and peace. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wish for everybody throughout this whole season. A lot more thank yous. Thank you to everybody who came. And Jennifer, your perspective is inspiring. Your fresh perspective. So, and we are going to have 1 week off, and then we are going to be back on Tuesday, the 29th, with Cindy Norsworthy. So she'll be joining us on a Tuesday before New Year's Eve. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have next week off, but you can watch the replay. And so I'm going to close off. If you have one last word, and our you know, we
No,
can.
I think we said it all. Thank you,
Okay.
Christine. It
Well,
was
thanks
great.
again so much. And I'm going to close off like I
Thank you guys all
do.
for being here.
Good night. Stay bright and don't let the bed bugs bite.
Bye.